Welcome back, everybody. Okay, today we are walking through a super critical explainer covering our Fall Protection Program SOP. Look, if you work on the manufacturing floor, you already know that gravity, well, it's that one workplace hazard that literally never takes a day off. So I don't just want you to look at this procedure as some dry set of corporate mandates. I want you to view this explainer as your vital, step-by-step survival guide for the plant floor. We're going to decode the exact engineering controls, the gear specs, and the physics that stand between you and a catastrophic injury.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to move right through our clear chronological journey today, identifying fall risk triggers, calculating total fall distance, essential fall protection gear, pre-use mechanical sweeps, and finally, localized site-specific appendices.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, identifying fall risk triggers. Let's get grounded in the physical reality of the plant floor.
So, stepping out onto the actual floor, the absolute magic number you need to burn into your brain is 6. 6 feet. That's the primary numeric threshold that completely flips how you need to operate. The literal second your feet are 6 feet or more above a lower level, boom, the Fall Protection Program SOP kicks in and mandates that immediate physical fall protection protocols have to be in place. No ifs, ands, or buts. No exceptions.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is where we actually see it on the floor. We're talking about those specific high-risk zones across our facilities, working up on mezzanines, maybe you're doing maintenance on the facility roofs, traversing those unguarded catwalks, or working right on the edge of open processing pits. If you're in any of these spots and there's a 6-foot drop, tying off is absolutely non-negotiable.
But hey, 6 feet isn't our only trigger here. We also have to talk about 20 feet. That's the specific height threshold that demands specialized fall protection when you're using fixed ladders. If a fixed ladder on our site climbs higher than 20 feet, just doing a standard climb, yeah, that's not going to cut it anymore. You have to be actively tied into a safety system.
Moving right along to Section 2, calculating total fall distance. This is where we turn abstract rules into some highly personalized physics.
Okay, this brings us to what I consider the real core of this whole thing, total fall distance. By definition, this is the mathematically calculated minimum vertical clearance you need to safely arrest a fall before you actually strike the lower level. To put that into perspective, in just one single second, a person falls 16 feet. That's why understanding this is so empowering. It takes all the guesswork out of the equation and gives you, the worker, absolute control over your own safety parameters.
So let's break that exact calculation down sequentially. It's actually like a little puzzle. To find your total fall distance, you just add 4 specific measurements together. First, the length of your lanyard. Second, your deceleration distance, which is basically just how far the shock absorber stretches out when it deploys. Third, you add your own physical height. And fourth, you toss in a built-in safety factor margin. You add up those 4 variables, and it tells you exactly how much clearance you need beneath you. It makes the physics of a fall totally predictable and honestly a lot less intimidating.
All right, up next, Section 3, essential fall protection gear.
Now we get to the climax of the physical application, the life-saving hardware itself. Let's focus heavily on your full-body utility harness. The rule here is incredibly strict. You have to utilize the center back-mounted D-ring. It's located right near your shoulder blades. This is the mandatory position for your tie-off connection. And you might be wondering, why there? Well, because if you do fall, that specific D-ring position makes sure the brutal kinetic forces are distributed evenly across the absolute strongest parts of your body. It keeps you upright and, more importantly, minimizes severe internal injuries.
And this brilliantly illustrates your deceleration lines. You basically have 2 primary options here. On one side, you've got shock-absorbing lanyards. These are designed with a maximum expansion of 42 inches as they rip open to absorb your fall energy. On the flip side, you have self-retracting lifelines, or SRLs for short. These act a lot like a car seatbelt. They rapidly lock to limit your total free-fall drop to less than 6 feet. Choosing the right line? Well, that depends entirely on the clearance calculation we literally just talked about.
Which brings us to Section 4, pre-use mechanical sweeps, the most critical moment right before you step off a stable platform.
Okay, let me ask you a really direct question. Would you trust your own life to unchecked webbing? I mean, imagine stepping off a catwalk, feeling that initial drop, and then hearing a snap, all because your harness was compromised. The real-world consequences of failed gear are severe, and yeah, often fatal. Your harness is quite literally only as strong as its weakest thread.
And that is exactly why you have to perform a rigorous mechanical sweep before every single use. I want you to imagine physically running your hands over every single inch of that harness webbing. You're actively hunting for 3 very specific things: burn holes from chemical or heat exposure, frayed stitching that compromises the structural integrity, and distorted metal grommets that look like they might warp under pressure. If you see any of those 3 things, you pull that gear from service immediately. No second thoughts.
Finally, let's hit Section 5, Localized Site-Specific Appendices.
Let's move to this and see how this builds into your specific day-to-day. While our core fall protection program SOP, the math, the 6-foot rules, the harness inspections, while that never changes, the exact physical hazards you face can vary wildly depending on what building you're in. The universal rules map directly onto local realities through site-by-site appendices. So, for example, the Frankston plant has this legacy gym mezzanine and some specific local excavations that Tyler and Edinburgh simply don't have. These dynamic hazards are tracked locally, meaning your safety program is always perfectly matched to the exact floor beneath your feet.
I love this quote because it really hits the nail on the head. A compliant safety program protects your life dynamically, right at the point of operation, regardless of which facility you clock into. This lean, localized safety structure ensures we all share the responsibility. It absolutely guarantees compliance across every single square foot of our corporate footprint.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. The rules are in place, the math is exact, and the gear is ready. But are you prepared to take control of your own safety on the floor today? Remember, fall protection isn't just some boring corporate policy. It's a daily, active commitment to making sure you go home exactly the way you arrived. Stay alert, inspect your gear, do the math, and please stay safe out there. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.